U.S. electric vehicle startups set for another quarter of steep cash burn. Ooh-wee. May 5th, Reuters. U.S. electric vehicle startups are expected to report another quarter of dwindling cash reserves next week, piling pressure on a group of companies that are struggling to ramp up production and have few options for funding in a turbulent economy. Isn't that the truth? These companies, Rivian, Lucid, all the others, they are struggling on more fronts than one, whether it be production, deliveries. Tesla isn't helping by lowering their costs. It is a frenzy. So when these reports come out, I'm just curious to see how the stock market's going to react. Having gone public with hopes of shaking up the automobile industry, these companies have seen their market valuations evaporate in the past few months as EV demand slows and market leader Tesla cuts prices to stoke orders. Many investors ran to the market once these companies IPO'd looking for the next Tesla. Little did they know Tesla is the next Tesla. Having survived production hell with the Model 3, Tesla emerged on the other side as a clear-cut favorite to provide the world growing demand for electric vehicles. But as production swells, the demand is even greater. So somebody has to fill the necessary gaps, right? And many investors went to the market hoping that Lucid or Rivian could be what those customers want. Lucid, Rivian, and some of these other players can get up to the level of production. There's no secret. If the companies can produce electric vehicles in mass, they will sell every single one of them. The problem is, many of these companies are figuring out that production is not easy. As Elon is so fond of saying, prototypes are easy. Production, that's hard. It's hard to pick one of these US startups to be the next Tesla because they're suffering in so many categories, whether it be production, pricing, cost to produce the vehicles, and market penetration. Lucid Group kicks off first quarter earnings for the group on Monday, with the company expected to report a 36% sequential slide in cash reserves, according to Visible Alpha. Rivian Automotive, meanwhile, will likely report on Tuesday that its cash balance fell by 6.8% to $10.78 billion from the preceding quarter. The Amazon-backed firm, whose shares have declined by nearly a quarter this year, is also expected to report larger loss of $1.75 billion as both deliveries and production fell in the period. It posted $1.59 billion loss a year ago. These losses add up. Investors rushed to the market hoping that one of these players would be able to duplicate Tesla's success. And lo and behold, once they got into the race, into the muck of things, realized, holy shit, Tesla made this look incredibly easy. How did they do this? It's not a paint by numbers, right? Tesla is doing everything in their power to make sure that electric vehicles are transitioning internal combustion engines out to pasture. So they open source their patents. They're like, please copy us, do what we do. We want to get internal combustion engines off the roads. If you do what we do, you probably will sell vehicles, but good luck doing what we do, considering we have the best engineers on the planet, considering we have one of the most dedicated management teams leading the charge, so to speak, with Elon Musk. I don't know too many companies that have executives like Tesla. You kind of go by these earnings reports that we're going to listen to this week, and you can try to compare. If you listen to how Tesla conducts their earnings calls and how these companies are about to, what their main focuses are, you can kind of draw comparisons and parallels. A lot of these companies are spinoffs from former Tesla executives hoping to duplicate the process. It's just not that easy. Fisker and Nikola, both of which report earnings on Tuesday, are expected to see their cash reserves declining by 5% and 15% respectively. All this graph is telling me is that they're losing money. And as they're losing money, their valuations are dropping. It's not good for business. This chart is pretty indicative of how soon somebody's going to go bankrupt. Any company that's losing money with a low valuation is toast, and EVs are no exception. I think it's just a slow bleed. Maybe they'll get lucky and some of their technologies may be bought by bigger players. said Thomas Hayes, chairman of hedge fund Great Hill Capital. A drop in valuation of companies has rendered selling equity for precious cash more ineffective, and investors are becoming increasingly unhappy with their stake being diluted as several startups are yet to recognize revenue from operations. British EV startup Arrival SA and Nikola have issued going concerns warning in the past few months, with the former set to merge with blank check from Kensington Capital Acquisition Corp in a bid to raise cash. This is going to be a mad scramble. Across the globe, we're suffering economic depression. Companies are tightening their belts, trying to find ways to save cash, reserve cash in preparation to weather this economic storm. Meanwhile, you got a company like Tesla who is raising how much they plan to spend within the next few years, building new factories, building new facilities across to increase their overall production worldwide. Many of these companies are in a similar position. They have to burn through cash. People will gain a level of confidence as their production increases. It's one of the biggest telltale signs that Lucid will eventually go bankrupt is that they keep lowering their production expectations. They're finding out this is a whole lot more expensive than what they're selling these cars for. It's a process that if you don't have the mental fortitude, you will unravel. You'll spin out of control. Lordstown Motors said this week it could be forced to file for bankruptcy due to uncertainty over a funding deal with major shareholder Foxconn. Its earnings in an unscheduled release on Thursday showed Lordstown's cash balance fell 11% sequentially. Investors are feeling insecure. They don't know if these companies are going to survive due to the performance of the company, whether it be trying to produce these cars affordably and then selling them for decent margins, or can they even produce these cars at a rate that warrants them to become profitable? The jury's still out. And when these companies went to IPO, people started flooding these companies with cash, expecting them to have a similar result as Tesla. And it just didn't pan out that way. As the world goes through this economic recession, we're going to see a lot of people not willing to fund these projects with little to no guarantee of success. It's just not going to happen. Some of the companies, including Lucid and Rivian, also have said they would not provide data on reservation numbers going forward, sparking some concern among investors, rightfully so. Many reasons why the reservation numbers don't want to be posted. One, the reservation numbers are low. And that's probably because many of the reservations are being canceled. People are interested, people would like to purchase these vehicles, but they're not producing them at a rate that allows customers to get their hands on them. Instead of reservation numbers growing, you will see reservation numbers being cut in half, especially as some of these companies decide to raise the price after a customer has already paid for a reservation. And next thing you know, the price of the car is $15,000 more than the consumer expected. You'll have people rage quitting, so that the reservation numbers are in high flux. Numbers would be up, down, and would not posting the reservation numbers spark more of a concern than watching the numbers fluctuate, if you're being totally honest about the reservations being held. Let's not get it twisted. Tesla, as they lower these prices, many people are going to be like, yeah, I don't want that anymore. I'd rather have this, considering it is a better product for much, much less, giving all of the metrics and specs. I think you got to stop divulging the reservation numbers in the long term, simply because it would be more of a concern if people can see these reservation numbers dwindle, so to speak. Until you're able to ramp up production, you're being spit roasted from both ends. One, the customers are angry because they can't even get the products. And then two, Tesla is undermining you, not even intentionally. Their ability to produce cars at such a low price in such a high volume allows them to pass on those savings to consumers. And no consumer in their right mind is going to be like, I'm going to buy an EV. I would prefer this Lucid Air, but holy smokes, for the same price or for even cheaper, I can buy the Model S Plaid. And oh, what else does the Tesla offer? Oh, they have a great app. They have this incredible ecosystem that I can actually be immersed in. It's a no-brainer. Many people want to try the Lucid, but they're not producing them in high volumes. And that goes with all the other EV startups here in the US. They're struggling while the other EV startups, say in China, whom Tesla has great admiration for, all of these companies are going to struggle. If the US companies, EV startup or legacy OEM, aren't careful, these China companies are going to sweep in. Once you start producing over 500,000 purely battery electric vehicles, you start learning things that at this stage of the game only Tesla knows. The advantage that Tesla has is one of time. So where they are in their stage of the game, and I try to mark these by levels of production, and until you reach these landmarks, Tesla's looking at you like, you'll get there eventually, and then you're gonna run into this problem. But it's best that you learn this on your own, because if we tell you, you're just gonna laugh at us, and then you're not gonna do it anyway. So you have to learn this as you get to these benchmarks of production, and companies just aren't there. No company is making as many electric vehicles as Tesla. They're just benefiting from economies of scale while they're able to pass on the savings to consumers and then work on various other projects that they know the customers are going to want because they're at these levels of production. You gotta expand the supercharger network to ease concerns for range anxiety. You gotta improve your software, because as technology advances, so too must your software. Well, that's all I got for you today. Be easy. Peace.